Welcome to Mindful Moments, where
Yeah.
we like to serve up some brain food in bite-sized portions.
2 million years. Just think about that. That's how long Homo erectus was around. And then you look at these powerful families, empires, gone in, well, a blink of an eye, relatively speaking.
It's a staggering contrast, isn't it? Makes you wonder what patterns really stick, across all that time.
Exactly. What can millennia tell us about power, love, conflict? The things that keep coming up.
Well, that's what we're exploring today, focusing on these mindful moments.
Right. Those points where a single choice, maybe a specific circumstance, just shifts everything.
Yeah, the ripples spread out. Our mission really is to pull out some key insights from these moments, looking at power, succession, ambition, the human stuff.
And we're drawing all this from the world, this incredible collection of interconnected stories.
It's amazing how far back it goes, even with Homo erectus. Their migrations, those stone axes, early signs of, well, society.
And not just cooperation, right? The sources mention evidence of care, disabled people surviving, but also murder, even 430,000 years ago.
Exactly. Cooperation and conflict, right there from the start, seemingly. It's baked in, perhaps.
Then jump forward to early Egypt, the pharaoh becoming Osiris, this divine mandate.
And that power demonstrated so brutally, like with King Jir's tomb. All those courtiers sacrificed.
Hundreds of them. It's a stark picture of absolute authority, isn't it? What are we supposed to make of that?
Well, it certainly sets a precedent, doesn't it? This idea of divine right, centralized power. It echoes down through history.
Then you get the Canaanites, the Phoenicians becoming these major traders.
Right, with their purple dye, cedar wood. But more than that, their ships. They founded colonies everywhere, Tyre, Carthage, Cadiz.
Pushing out across the Mediterranean, even into the Atlantic. And they gave us something huge.
The alphabet. Simple, adaptable, 22 continents.
It just took off, didn't it? Changed everything about recording information.
It really shows how one innovation can just spread and transform things, that interconnectedness.
Now, the Kushites in Egypt, their approach to power seems, well, different.
They position themselves as defenders of the old gods,
Oh.
almost more Egyptian than the Egyptians in some ways.
But they stayed distinctively Kushite. And King Pi, loving horses more than jewels, hating animal cruelty, not your typical conqueror.
That duality was probably key. It gave them legitimacy in Egypt, but let them keep their own identity. Smart strategy, really.
Okay, shifting gears to Assyria. That seems like a much more volatile situation.
Oh, definitely. Sargon II calling himself king of the world, then getting killed violently. Sennacherib struggling.
It shows the instability, even for the biggest military powers, and their fall. Babylon and the Medes teaming up.
The siege of Nineveh. Brutal. Hammers home that nothing lasts forever.
What made them vulnerable? Just the constant fighting?
Partly, perhaps. That reliance on brutal control might have bred resentment, made them easy targets for an alliance like the Medes and Babylonians. Uvakshra saw an opportunity.
Then the Persians, the Achaemenids, Queen Parysatis. She sounds formidable.
Absolutely. The lengths she went to, securing power for her husband, then her son, even that horrific suffocation plot.
It shows women could wield serious influence behind the scenes, didn't it? Even if men held the official titles.
Definitely. And the ruthlessness. Killing Stadhira's whole clan. Power struggles were deadly serious.
Now, Alexander, obviously huge conquests. But his relationship with Persia is complicated.
Very. Burning Persepolis was Thais' idea. Parmenion warned against it.
And then adopting the title King of Asia. What was going on there? Revenge. Strategy.
Probably a mix. Maybe trying to win over the Persians, maybe just caught up in the moment. But it caused friction. Philotas was skeptical. There was even an assassination plot.
Yeah, not everyone was on board with becoming more Persian. His conquests created chaos later, too.
Oh, the succession fight was messy. Ptolemy's son, Thunderbolt. Sounds like trouble.
He was apparently quite psychopathic.
Yeah.
But Seleucus, his solution for his son Antiochus loving Stratonthity. That's wild.
Giving up his wife and part of his kingdom to his son to cure his lovesickness.
Yeah, that's unexpected. It suggests maybe stability and his heirs' happiness were more important than tradition, perhaps.
It seems that way. Very personal decision overriding politics. Which reminds me, resources like Mindful Moments and our podcasts on YouTube delve into these kinds of pivotal moments and what we can learn.
Right. And then you contrast that with Ashoka in India, his big transformation after the Kalinga War.
Yeah, embracing Buddhism, promoting Dharma righteousness, tolerance. A totally different model of influence.
Sending missionaries out, even talking to Greek kings about Buddhist ideas. It's a real counterpoint to just military might.
It shows power can be used differently, doesn't it? To build peace, share ideas, a lasting legacy built on something other than conquest.
Okay, let's talk Rome. The Punic Wars. Scipios versus Barcus. Hannibal.
Classic rivalry. Hannibal's brilliance, almost bringing Rome to its knees.
But then his defeat. And the Scipios getting accused of corruption later, Rome wasn't exactly grateful, was it?
Apparently not. Scipio Africanus wanting to be buried away from Rome. That speaks volumes about his disillusionment. Maybe he was poisoned. Roman politics could be nasty.
And new powers rising, like Parthia, their cavalry tactics, that Parthian shot.
Very effective. And they controlled the Silk Road trade with Rome. Shows how military innovation and economic control shift the balance.
Then Caesar, his early life captured by pirates, telling them he'll crucify them, and then actually doing it.
Yeah, that tells you something about his personality early on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Ruthless, ambitious.
Foreshadowing his later moves, maybe. The triumvirate with Pompey and Crassus, the Republic crumbling.
Definitely. And his whole involvement with Cleopatra in Egypt.
Mm.
Her dramatic entrance wrapped in a carpet.
Mm.
That changed things significantly for Rome, too.
Moving into the empire proper, the Julio-Claudians, Augustus, Tiberius, Claudius, Nero, it seems like a mess.
It really highlights the dark side of dynastic power, doesn't it? The paranoia, the plots, Messalina's intrigues, Agrippina's ambition.
Claudius, seemingly terrified, exiling people, maybe even murdering Julia Livilla. And Nero, killing his own mother, Agrippina.
Framing her, then killing his wife Claudia to marry Poppaea. It's a spiral of brutality fueled by unchecked power within the family.
Even under emperors seen as good, like Trajan, Optimus Princeps, still constant war, the Jewish revolts.
And his death and Hadrian's succession, there were whispers about that, weren't there? Was it natural?
It suggests ruling an empire was just inherently difficult, maybe inherently violent, even during supposed golden ages.
And then you get someone like Commodus, just completely off the rails.
Calling himself Jupiter, Hercules, Amazonius, fighting gladiators, and that mention of potential biological warfare. Yikes.
And Marcia, his mistress, a Christian, apparently protecting the Bishop of Rome while involved in the plot against Commodus. History is strange. It shows how fragile things were.
These cycles just keep repeating, don't they? Ambition, betrayal, power shifts.
Absolutely. And then religion and culture add whole new layers. Look at Justinian in Byzantium.
Marrying Theodora, an actress. Overcoming legal hurdles. Then the plague hits, wipes out maybe a third of the population.
Devastating. And his wars to reclaim the West. Incredibly costly, even if partly successful. A time of huge change.
And meanwhile, in Arabia, Muhammad and the rise of Islam, filling a void left by weak empires, perhaps.
That seems to be part of the context. Failing empires, disrupted trade. Monotheism had an appeal, though the sources also mention early conflicts, like with some Jewish tribes in Medina. It wasn't always smooth.
Then you have the Tang dynasty in China, Li Yuan founding it, Taizong taking over ruthlessly from his brothers.
Yeah, killing them at the Xuanwu Gate, but then presiding over a huge expansion until
the Anlushan Rebellion and the tragic story of Consort Yang being sacrificed to appease the troops. Personal drama impacting the empire.
Exactly. And look at Charlemagne in Europe, crowned Holy Roman Emperor by the Pope, partly because Empress Irene had blinded her own son in Byzantium.
Wild. And Pope Leo III needed protection. Political opportunism all around.
Then Harun al-Rashid in Baghdad, the Abbasid Golden Age, incredible wealth, arts, science.
The Arabian Nights image, but complex family life too. Zubaida, his sons Alamin and Al-Mamun, the slave singer, the girl with the Malay, wanting Inan, personal desires mixed with imperial power.
It's always a mix, isn't it? Moving into the Middle Ages, you see so much happening everywhere.
That period in Rome called the pornocracy, Maruzia basically running the papacy.
Then Basil II, the Bulgar slayer in Byzantium, a fearsome military leader. His alliance with Valdemar or Vladimir of Kiev.
Right, leading to Kiev's conversion to Orthodox Christianity. And Vladimir marrying Basil's sister, Anna Porphyrogenita. Huge consequences.
And Islam spreading down through Africa via trade routes, Ghana, the Swahili coast. Those sources mention things like human sacrifice in Ouagadougou too. Complexity everywhere.
Vikings reaching America. Freda Saracen, apparently quite ruthless herself.
Ethiopia's unique history, that Jewish kingdom of Gudit causing disruption. The Fujiwara clan in Japan ruling through marriage politics.
The Khmer Empire building Angkor Wat. Jayavarman II. The Normans carving out kingdoms in southern Italy. The Hautevilles.
That whole investiture controversy, popes versus emperors. Leo IX clashing with those Normans, the great schism between East and West.
Seljuk Turks rising. Malik Shah, his vizier Nizam al-Mulk, Omar Khayyam, the poet-scientist. Then Nizam gets assassinated.
Intrigue again. And Walada in Al-Andalus, the caliph's daughter, a poet living unconventionally, her affair with Ibn Zaydun.
Then the Crusades kick off, Bohemond, Alexios Komnenos in Byzantium, clashing ambitions from the start.
And figures like Saladin rising, taking back Jerusalem, Baldwin IV, the leper king, trying to hold the Crusader states together.
Queen Tamara of Georgia, ruling successfully despite the challenges for a female monarch then.
Then the Mongol storm breaks. Khan Zongdu sacked, Empress Jurbi captured. Unbelievable destruction. Some even link the Mongol movements to the Black Death spreading later.
Frederick II in Sicily, the Holy Roman Emperor, clashing constantly with the popes, going on crusade but negotiating. A really complex figure.
Alexander Nevsky in Russia, fighting Teutonic knights but having to deal with the Mongol Golden Horde. A difficult balancing act.
And Hulagu Khan sacking Baghdad in 1258, wiping out the Abbasid Caliphate. The scale of death reported is just immense.
But then the Mamluks in Egypt under Baibars actually stopped the Mongols at Ain Jalut, and Baibars takes down the last Crusader strongholds.
Kublai Khan finally conquering all of China, founding the Yuan dynasty. Marco Polo shows up.
Mansa Musa of Mali makes his incredible pilgrimage to Mecca, spending so much gold it apparently messes with the economy in Cairo.
And Tamerlane, another wave of conquest, maybe even more brutal. Towers of heads, defeating the Ottoman Sultan Bayezid, the Thunderbolt.
Just relentless upheaval. Then China again, the Ming dynasty, replacing the Mongols. Hongwu the founder, then his grandson, overthrown by Yongle.
Yongle, who moves the capital to Beijing, builds the Forbidden City, sends Zheng He on those amazing voyages.
Meanwhile, in Europe, the Medici are rising in Florence through banking, Cosimo, using wealth for political power, patronizing art.
And then 1453, Constantinople falls to Mehmed II, the end of the Byzantine Empire. Huge symbolic moment.
Spain gets unified under Ferdinand and Isabella. The Granada War ends. Columbus sails. They expel the Jews. A pivotal year, 1492.
The Renaissance popes, the Borgias, Alexander VI, Julius II, the warrior pope, Leo X. Politics, art, religion all tangled up. Savonarola, Machiavelli, Italy was a hotbed.
Spain's inheritance gets messy after Isabella dies, Juana the Mad, her husband Philip.
But incredible art happening, Michelangelo, Raphael, patronage from popes and princes.
And Portugal's exploring like crazy. Manuel III, Vasco da Gama, reaches India. Albuquerque takes Malacca, building a global empire, Brazil claimed.
The Ottomans keep expanding. Selim the Grim conquers Egypt. Then Suleiman the Magnificent, huge power, and Roxolana's influence.
Then the Americas, Cortes and the Aztecs, Pizarro and the Incas, disease, violence, exploitation, but also complex alliances. Cortes needed indigenous allies.
Moctezuma, Cuauhtémoc, Atahualpa, tragic figures. And Tucripac, Moctezuma's daughter, Isabel Montezuma, bridging two worlds.
Europe tears itself apart with religious wars. Charles V trying to hold his empire together, the Peace of Augsburg, the Dutch revolt against Philip II of Spain, St. Bartholomew's Day massacre in France.
Ivan the Terrible in Russia, the Oprichnina, his reign of terror, Novgorod massacred.
Lepanto, the naval battle, Ottomans versus the Holy League, a major clash. Global trade really takes off. Philip II even inherits Portugal, uniting the Iberian empires for a while.
Then the 30 Years' War devastates Central Europe. Gustavus Adolphus, Wallenstein, Cardinal Richelieu pulling strings.
England has its civil war. Charles I executed, Cromwell rules. Then the Restoration with Charles II, James II, overthrown in the Glorious Revolution.
The Enlightenment starts questioning everything. Voltaire, Diderot, Kant, new ideas spreading.
Russia rises under Frederick the Great. More wars. The 7 Years' War, really a global conflict.
Britain solidifies control in India. Clive, the Battle of Plassey. The East India Company's power grows.
Then the American Revolution, followed quickly by the French Revolution. Louis VI, Marie Antoinette, Robespierre, the Terror, and the Haitian Revolution, Toussaint Louverture, Dessalines, the first free black republic. Hugely significant. Napoleon emerges from the chaos in France, shakes up all of Europe, then falls.
Financial power becomes huge. The Rothschilds building a banking dynasty across Europe.
Latin America fights for independence. Bolivar, San Martin, new nations emerge.
Shaka builds the Zulu kingdom in southern Africa through military innovation.
Britain abolishes the slave trade, then slavery itself. But compensation goes to owners like the Gladstones, not the enslaved. Slave rebellions like in Demerara show the ongoing struggle.
And things are changing everywhere. Dahomey under Gezo, Hawaii under Kamehameha III, consolidating power, American families like the Roosevelts rising.
Even a Bonapartist pretender, Louis Napoleon, eventually takes power in France.
And amidst all this upheaval, Karl Marx is developing his ideas about capitalism and revolution.
It's just an incredible sweep of history, isn't it? So many moments where things could have gone differently.
Absolutely. All these interconnected stories, these mindful moments, they really show the enduring patterns of human behavior, the drive for power, the impact individuals can have, but also the fragility of it all.
Looking back at all this, it definitely makes you think about our own time. What moments happening now will future historians see as the big turning points?
That's the question, isn't it? What are the mindful moments of the 21st century going to be?
Something to ponder, definitely. History doesn't stop.
It certainly doesn't. Well, if this discussion sparked your interest in history's pivotal moments, please subscribe to our channel for more explorations like this.
And share it with anyone you think might appreciate understanding these historical forces.
If you want to dive even deeper into the incredible narratives we touched on, consider checking out The World. There's a link in the description.
And most importantly, keep thinking critically, keep questioning, and keep exploring history for yourself.